Hello everybody, my name is Archer and this is kind of like this Sphoxie post-mortem. I'm going to show you behind the scenes and how some stuff works. Some people asked me to do it and here it is. This is done in the UDK. This is the menu system. Well, the main menu anyways. Everything is in 3D polygons. And yeah, it's just camera transitions to go to different things. Stars are individual meshes, everything else are one big meshes, even the numbers and stuff to make things very efficient. This is the main loading, but I have these 4 cubes to block the little dude so that the motion mode works. Here it is without those cubes. So play start, they're all 3D and they have 2D buttons overlaid on them and they scale appropriate depending on the device and they keep their correct location, which is pretty cool. This is the main character. Here he has all his stuff enabled at the same time, all the meshes, and he has different parts so that glasses are separate, he has a second body, the goggles and the spikes are separate. So the meshes hide and unhide depending on the state. Now for the thing that most people care about, I'm going to show you the level loading system. Many people ask me how I did it in the UDK, and especially Martin, so I will show you. Before in the Bizango Blast video, it was a bit more complicated. Now I found an easier way to do it, but I don't know if it's because they changed something in the UDK or something, but anyways, it's easier. So as I showed you in the menu, there are the invisible buttons. Well, they're not invisible, they're there, but the touching part is invisible. So when you press on one of those, it activates this event and this loads as the first level. So what happens, it prepares the map, which is called Sphoxie Stage 1 Level 6. It's 6 because I rearranged the order of the levels to make the game a bit easier in the beginning. So it loads that map, it removes everything else that's not needed with the forced garbage collection, and then it commits the map change. Once the map has been committed, it makes the ball, or the character, go to the location of node 4, which is, I will show you quickly. Where is level 1? Yeah. So it teleports you right about here. And that's how it works. Let's go back to the Kismet, and then so yeah, that's pretty much it. It also loads the loading screen. So while all of that is happening, you're at the loading screen, and once the map has been committed and the level is loaded, it gives the command to change the camera away from the loading screen, and then you have, you know, like the intro cam, and that's cool. And then yeah, and then the rest of the level starts up, so you have like so if you haven't beaten the level, it immediately goes into normal mode and then you just play it. But if you've beaten the level, you have the option of, you know, you see your high score, and then you can choose if you want to play normal mode, if you want to play race mode, if you want to go back to the menu, or if you want to go to the next level. Since you've already beaten this level, you have the next level unlocked. And yeah, so back to the level loading system, because it's a little bit more complicated. Let's say you want to restart a level. So if you're in a level and you press the restart button, what it does is it removes everything that's already loaded. It loads an empty level, which I just call SPH loading, which stands for Sphoxie loading, and it clears everything else again, and then it commits the map change, and it launches the loading screen. And then once all of that is done, there's a little delay. The delay is important because so nothing jumps the gun, really. Because instead of having this copy paste all the times, I just delegated it to this, so it's a thing, an event that all the other level loadings could use. since it's not unique, so all of it's the same loading level. So I figured instead of having all these nodes many times, I just do it once and replace it with this. And the delay prevents it from jumping the gun. So once everything has been unloaded, because you can't load the same level twice, everything has to be unloaded, it starts loading the level again, and then it removes everything and it commits the map change and sends the character where he needs to go. It's pretty easy. I mean, yeah, I think you can follow it. There's nothing else special. Before it was weird because you had to have something in the loading level like a player start. Like before, when I had the player start in the loading level, I didn't have the player start in the loading level in the Zango Blast, it would crash. And then, but here I don't seem to need it. The loading level is completely and utterly void of any actors. It's just zero. It's just completely empty. And the persistent level has a player start. These levels, I don't think they have a player start. Who knows? Well, I can easily check. Inside level. Do they have player starts? Oops. Level player start. Just type it. No. Okay. Don't even need player starts there. So you just need it on the persistent level, and then you teleport your character or protagonist or whatever to your level that you want, and that's it, really. It's not too hard anymore. And yeah, this also just makes sure that there's the right background for the right level, because I only have one background and it gets changed based on the level. So for the Azure levels it's blue, for the Mauve levels it's purple, and for the Coral levels it gets a red texture gets applied to it. And yeah, I hope this is helpful. And then you just copy paste this as for as many levels as you have. I had quite a bit, so yeah, I had quite a bit. Yeah, and these have to force, like the first levels have to force it that it's blue background for some reason. Oh yeah, for when you restart. So like if you do a next, I guess that could have been here. But anyways, if you do a next, it will not do this. It will not take all this into consideration because it's not coming from this event. So if you beat the boss and then you just next to the next level, if I didn't have this, it would keep the Azure background and not the Mauve background. Let's look at I guess Game Center. Game Center was quite easy because there's the UDK gems, which just makes them into Kismet nodes, and that makes everything easy. So all my stuff is based on conditions. So if you've beaten all the levels, you unlock the achievement for beating all the levels. So it checks if you have 100%. If you beat Coral, you become the Coral Master. And I don't even remember what this is. Oh, if you collect everything, if you manage to get 100 and everything. And yeah, if you beat all the races, you can get the goggles and stuff like that, and you get the achievements for that falling. So everything is pretty much condition based for the achievements, which is alright, I guess. What else? Also for the leaderboards, each level handles their leaderboard separately. So if you get a best time and the time is saved, it gets sent to the online leaderboard. So you have to have that. Yeah, if you have a lot of leaderboards, you're gonna have a lot of files, which is annoying. And yeah. What else? So let's go to the sound. The sound is pretty easy. I kind of instead of having the sounds in every level themselves and stuff like that, which would just take a lot of memory, I just have all the sounds on the persistent level, and then events just call them when they're needed. So for example, time lost. Anyway, so for example, which should be time gain. Anyway, so for example, like every time you get a yellow cube, it makes a different sound because I put on a random switch, so it plays random sounds, so that way the game is not so repetitive. I have this gate because to prevent more sounds, too many sounds from playing at the same time, because that would just be very annoying. And there's a condition to see if you have the sound on or off in the options, because that way if you turn the sounds off, nothing gets played, it just gets stopped by this condition. And that's pretty much it. Different events trigger different sounds, and I just have a bunch of random switches to make it not so repetitive. Let me see if I can find the dings. Oh, annoying autosave stop. Let's see. Dizzy, ball, dings. Yeah, so the cool thing about this is that if you have one sound and you don't want it to sound so repetitive, you can just change the pitch modifier, which is hair. So it's the same sound, but which saves you memory, but it sounds different because of the change of pitch. So from one sound I got 6, so it makes like a scale, ding 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 ding, or ding 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 ding, whatever, and then that way it's multiple sounds just from one file, and obviously it's random, or it's not random. This one actually just goes in order. And yeah, what else? Let's check out the slides. The slide system was pretty simple. So like the story slide, the story slides get played the first time you play the game, but if you would like to look at them again, there's also the button that activates them. Forgot what that was for. So if you want the stories, it clears all the buttons, it loads the story slide, plays the sound. There's a delay, a 2.5 second delay, and once that delay is reached, it adds a skip button. So if you want to skip everything, it goes and it adds a tap to continue, so that the player knows that if they want to continue, they can just tap the screen. And then yeah, ad nauseum. So when you tap, you go to the next slide, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. And then the tutorials, it's basically the same thing. Yeah, same thing. What were these? Yeah, same thing. Except the tutorials did not need the tap to continue, because that was already written on the slides. Let's look at the interface. The interface was also quite a challenge to do. Yeah, this is a loading screen. So as like from before in the loading level loading system, so once the loading screen comes, it turns off a bunch of things. It resets stuff to 0, the score to 0. It removes all the inputs. It sets the camera to the loading screen, which I will show you right now. Where is it? Loading screen. Where art thou? The thing is that it's invisible. There we go. There's the loading screen. It will pop in somewhere randomly. There we go. So this is the loading screen. And what happens is, once that's set, the texture on the loading thing gets cycled between blue, purple, and red until the loading is completed. What stops the loading is once the level is loaded, it sends a command to just stop all of that from happening. What else in the interface might be interesting? What is this? Yeah, this loads all the buttons. As I said, the polygons, represent the visual image of the buttons, but here are the actual buttons. They're just at input zones, button zones, and they're conditions. So if you beat the level, it unlocks the next one, and that way it prevents you from accessing levels ahead of time. This turns off everything from something. Oh, that's the stats menu. But, no, if you start. And yeah, so it's basically like that. It adds the buttons to go to the next level as well, the back button, all of that. So copy paste that 2 extra times and you got a menu system. This is my pause system, so when you hit pause, it pauses the game. It adds a new background. It turns on the exit, I think. And if the level has been beaten, so if you haven't beaten the level, you don't get the next button, but if you have beaten the level, you can just go next to the next level. That is what pauses it, just the console command that says pause. And it also turns off your controls, so that you can't move. And then when you press play, it removes everything and just sets you back to where you were and gives you back control. If you restart, it starts the restart event, and based on which level it is, it restarts the level, pretty much. Simple stuff. And then when you want to go back to the main menu, it removes all the inputs, removes the UI, does some other stuff, turns off the tail, it prepares the loading level, which is completely empty, removes everything, commits the map, and it doesn't load anything because the persistent level is already loaded, so you just want to remove the old level to free up the memory, and then it teleports you back to the main menu and just activates everything that the menu needs. It turns on the motion so that you can shake the little character around on the menu. The next system is kind of like the restart, except it restarts the next level, taking you to the next level. And play just sends you back to where you were. What else? These are all the UI elements, which are draw text and all their different conditions. Because so there's the text. This is the main text. This is the outline around it. When you get a cube, it flashes or something. Yep. Also, every time it says yellow cube, I think it really means red cube, and vice versa. Yep. And what else? So there's a lot of text in the game and everything. And this is what, oh yeah, this is actually, now I remember what this is for. So when you beat a level, like, the stuff flashes. So it tells you how many yellow cubes you got in the end, and it flashes for a few seconds, so as they're coming out, and it flashes different colors, and this is what controls it, so different rules get turned on and off. What else could be interesting? This is like inside the options menu, so this is the music, so depending if the music's already on, if it's on, it turns it off, if it's off, it's off, it turns it on. Same thing with the sound, with the controls, it's the same thing, it switches it from touch controls to the mini joystick. What else is there? And this is what loads, so when you press the option button, it just clears all the things, it makes the swoosh sounds, it turns off stuff that doesn't need to be on, and then it starts the option menu and it teleports a little ball into the area of the options menu, turns the tail on, and etc. Adds all the buttons, and voila. Also it checks to see if what's on and what's off, and it assigns the correct thing based on the conditions. So the texts, sound on, sound off. I didn't need to do a string for it, but that way it's easier to see. What else is interesting? Let's check if you've unlocked anything. What is this? Transfers variables from levels to levels. What could be interesting? This big mess is actually for something incredibly simple. It just controls the score. So when you go into the stats menu, the score adds up until you reach the final total. And this is the Kismet for it. I'm pretty sure it could be more efficiently done in code, but whatever. Whatevs. It could have been. I didn't take that long to do. And it works. Loading screen, we already saw that. Alright, what else can we look at? The star system. So this is actually important because this is the visual part of the menu and it controls the percentage of the game you've beaten. So once all the levels are loaded, once all the bools are loaded, it starts doing this check. So it checks if you've beaten the level. Autosave, stop. It checks if you've beaten the level and it assigns well, first it would, if you've beaten level 2, level 1, it removes the unlock thing on level 2 and it adds the blank stars, and if you have beaten level 2 and you've unlocked some stars, it's controlled by this, and it just changes the texture of the star from blue to yellow, and it assigns your percentage. So your percentage is calculated all the time, well, not every time you load the game, on the fly, and every time you go to the menu. Yeah. And it adds other things like if you've beaten, like for the race mode, once you've beaten like the 24 races, it will unlock the goggles, and if you've beaten all the levels, it gives you more colors in the sketch mode. Yeah, so this is kind of a mess, but you do it once, copy paste, and you change values. It's a bit tedious, but it works. So yeah, so if you've beaten this, it unlocks the, it unhides the stars and it hides the padlock. Simple stuff. Now let's look at some of the main systems. Like for example, the controls were actually harder than I thought it would be. I started off with the Jazz Jackrabbit thingy, and then so I have a joystick, which is a giant joystick. The touch controls are actually a giant joystick, and the mini controls are a different joystick, but they have different strengths, obviously. So there's a condition that for if the controls are on or off. Yeah. And then there's an event for input active, which lets the game know that the input is being used. There's a condition to see if you're touching the ground or not, and there's an event that starts the dynamic camera system, which is somewhere. It'd be interesting to show. Let me get back to this. Dynamic camera system is. So it's a bunch of conditions based on your speed. It changes the camera, but through an animation. So it does the transition, and then so as you're going, the faster you go, the higher the cam goes. And there are 3 states. There's the low cam, the high cam, and the mid cam. So yeah, if you're going less than 1,000, you get the middle cam, but if you're going faster than 1,000, you get the high cam, and once you're stationary, like if you let go, it goes back to the little cam. But it automatically, as soon as you touch, it goes to the medium cam. Anyways, back to the controls. So then you get the current speed of the ball, which I don't use. I was thinking about doing a weird acceleration thing, but that wasn't working out. It was making it just go way too fast. Then you get the vector component of the joystick, so you can get the direction, and then I multiply by 1,000 to invert them based on the way my camera is positioned, and then you bring it back into vectors, then you take the joystick strength and the movement speed, and then you add those together, and then you get a new speed. Where's movement speed from though? Ah yes, so the movement speed is a multiplier, because the joystick was not fast enough. So that way I get the range that I want. So like for testing, for the 3DS it was 5, and then for the iPad it's 3, because the iPad has more pixels, because the joystick in the UDK actually works on the amount of pixels. Well, that's what I realized. So like on a 3GS will never go as fast as an iPad, because the iPad has more pixels, so you have to take that into consideration. And once all of that is done and good, it sets a velocity to the ball, and that's it. And there is a speed limit, so I don't want the ball to go faster than 1500, because it will just start going through walls, because it will be able to go faster. Then the game can update the collisions, so speed limit is important. That was actually the easy part. The hard part was, since it's a ball, and how does it know that it's touching the ground? So I had to do like a collision thing, and so it detects if the ball is moving or not. And if the ball's not touching anything, then you have the controls and everything. But if the ball is in the air, it takes away your controls, because it sets the bool. It says like it's not touching the ground somewhere right here. And it also, yeah, it handles the shadows. So like you have the shadow that's on the bottom, run by a trace, and then if you're touching the ground, it doesn't need to do the trace, and then just has the normal shadow underneath you. Another problem that I had was when the ball is completely stationary, it stops sending the collision signal. So I had to do a check, so that if the ball is going less than 5 speed, you have control over the ball. It doesn't turn off, because when you're falling, the ball is obviously going fast, but if it's going less than 5, that means it's stationary, it's not moving. So make sure you don't lose control from that. And yeah, it's a little bit complicated because all just wires, but I'm just giving you the brief overview of it. What was this again? Yeah, okay, this is why it's very important to comment your work, because when you come back to it after not looking at it for a long time, you're going to be like, what the heck am I looking at? Anyways, so what else could be interesting? Yeah, that's that. These are all the bools that get loaded. Well, some of them, all the times get loaded in their respective level, but these are all the completed bools, and these are the stars. So 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and these are the stars for the race modes. These are the scores for each of the levels that you've beaten, and these are like, it remembers current tail, and if you had the sound on or off, the music on or off, and the stuff that you've unlocked. And then once everything is loaded, it tells the game that, hey, everything's loaded, you can start. So what happens when you load the game for the first time? The persistent level gets loaded, and then you go to the title screen, and then it clears all inputs in case there's anything. Then it adds the welcome slide, and while there's a welcome slide, it loads everything, and once everything is loaded, it checks to see if you've beaten the game or not. It loads to see if you've beaten the game or not, then it checks if you've beaten the game or not, and then if you haven't beaten the game, then you have the story slide plus the tutorial. If you've played before, not beaten the game, if it's your first play, then it gives you the tutorial. If it's not your first play, then it's business as usual. And then, yeah. Then when it's business as usual, it loads all the bulls, and then once all the barbels are loaded, it takes you to the title screen, and then you have all the buttons that appear. Then you have this little camera shake that makes things a little bit trippy, and then there's a sound where he says hello to welcome you to the game, and it checks to see if you have anything that's unlocked, and then it turns on the motion so you can shake it around, make him move around. And then it starts his blink animation cycle, which is just a change of mesh. And yeah, let me see if there's anything else that's interesting. Yeah, there's some crazy looking stuff, but I'm not sure how I would explain it. This is the thing that, so if you've beaten a race, this pulls all the values from the level and it displays them, it puts them together and takes all the strings and integers and it puts them into one string using this. This is cool, but the only annoying thing about it is that the order is not obvious, so it's a little bit of trial and error to make sure you're getting the right order of things. Oh my gosh, autosave, stop. I think I've been doing this for 15 minutes. Alright, so it's getting long. What else? I think that's about it. If there's anything specific anybody wants to know, just feel free to ask. Well, actually, let me just show the Kismet for the levels. The levels, since everything's handled on the persistent level, the levels themselves have very little stuff for themselves, just stuff that's unique to them. So this changes the scales of the clouds and it sets them to the right location, and then this sends the camera variables to the camera system, which is on the persistent level, and then it sends the bulls to the persistent level so it can work with them. So that way I don't have the systems copy pasted 27 times. This system exists once, and then the variables get sent to it, and once all the variables get sent, it tells the system, alright, you can do what you need to do. It updates the score, make sure everything is set to 0 and clean. And then there's a title for the level which gets displayed when you start it. Checks to see if you've beaten the level or not, and depending on if you've beaten the level or not, so if you haven't beaten the level, it gives you the intro, it shows you where the 4 red cubes are. If you've already beaten the level, then you have the option of playing the level normally, race mode, go back to the menu, and just the next level. And then there's the pause, so everything gets sent to the persistent level, to the loading level system. What else? This checks for the stars, it saves the stars, so yeah. So that way if you already unlock the star, it's not going to save every time. Once it's saved, it doesn't need to be saved again. Sends this to the main system on the main level, so that way you don't have to copy paste everything. If you get a new high score, it saves the score and then it gives you a new high score. When you reach the exit, it checks if you've collected all the red cubes, even though it says yellow. Originally they were yellow. And the same thing with the race, because the race has its 4 black and white cubes and you have to collect them. And then if you win, you get the end sequence. And then it sets the bull that you've won this level, and then it saves it, and then everybody's happy. There's the fall catcher, which counts how many times you've fallen. Then there's the effect that it teleports you back to where you need to be. Actually, for more complicated levels, for example this one, yeah, for the longer levels, there's an interesting fall catcher system. So depending on how many of the red cubes you've gotten, it teleports you a different location. So it teleports you to the last location of the red cube you've gotten. That way it reduces frustration on the longer levels. That's cool. Let's look at one of the bad guys. All the bad guys are prefabs, and their animation is based on physics. There's no AI, they just come to the character based on physics and the character's attraction, and their animations are based on how hard they get hit. So by moving, they have a higher collision velocity, and by having a higher collision, so like for example tolerance here is 150, it changes the face of the dude, and there's a condition, so if it's touching the character, the little dude, you know, it makes the unhappy face, and then yeah, and then it slowly goes back down to its neutral state. And these are I don't remember what this is for. Anyways, I'll remember that later. Yeah, and then to finish off, I'll just show you a little bit of everything in the game. Zoom out. So this is the entire Sphoxie universe. It's kind of big. It's kind of a lot of stuff. There are a lot of prefabs. There are 29 levels in total. So 27 levels in total. 24 that you play normally and 3 that are bosses. Some interesting views are this. Here you can see all the prefabs, so these all the collectibles, plus all the bad guys, the red cubes, the level cubes, and everything. It's hectic. And here's everything in monochrome, well, biochrome. Here's monochrome, lighting complexity. So I have everything pretty much not lit, and all the lighting happens on the texture. This makes things easier on different levels, and I prefer it that way. So this is lit, but the game is actually played in unlit, which you can't really see the difference, except for like some of the meshes that you don't actually see in the game. Yeah, actually this reminds me of something. In the UDK, it handles collisions weird. So if you have a per poly collision and you try and make it move, the visual aspect will move, but the collision component itself will not move. And then this was frustrating because at first I didn't know what was going on, and then I figured it out. And if you have like simple meshes, simple collision meshes that are generated by the UDK, it will rotate and move correctly. So before, like, this entire cube was moving, but all the collisions stayed, and then that was annoying because it looked like it was working, but the character would go through the stuff and then be blocked by invisible objects, which was annoying. So yeah, here are the levels. Optimized, I had removed all of the under polygons, but that caused problems, so I stopped doing it. Could pretty much just flip this level over and have 2 levels, but I should have done that. I like these levels. And yeah, and that's how it is. Woo. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this interactive, well, not interactive, this behind the scenes of Sphoxie and the Kismet. And if there's anything specific you'd like me to go into, I will try and do it, but no promises. Seriously. Alright, thanks for watching.